Revelation 15, if you would. We're going to do a little bit of a review. We're at the very, very end of the yes.
So it shook heaven also?
What?
So it shook heaven also, God's wrath?
Did it say the earth?
Yeah, but are those the saints?
Yeah, but they're in. Hang on a second, I'll explain it. Where are we during this time of the tribulation? We're in heaven. We've been raptured. Jesus has come in the clouds and taken his church away. That's the next great event. Can it happen today? It sure can. That's why we have to be ready. We have to be ready. All right, we've had the 7 seal judgments. The scroll with 7 seals. Jesus opened one. Each one he opened was a catastrophe on this earth. Then we had the 7 trumpet judgment. And that's what we studied last week. Every time an angel blew the trumpet, it was more devastation and ruination for this earth. Now, who's catching all this wrath? The unsaved people. There's 3 different groups. There's 4 different groups that are preaching during the tribulation period. Number 1 is the 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe. Then we also have the 2 witnesses. Then we have an angel at the highest point in heaven, like a loudspeaker. So everyone can see it as the earth revolves. Everyone will see and hear the message. Okay? And then you have the people on the earth that have gotten saved. They're going to witness to other people too. There's going to be a great revival during the tribulation. There's going to be a lot of people saved. Okay? Now, the Antichrist is in charge right now during this period. We have the satanic trinity, the devil, the Antichrist, and the false prophet. And they're running the world. Everyone is getting the mark of the beast except for those that are saved. And those that are getting the mark of the beast are doomed to hell and the lake of fire. We'll see that. All right? Now, you might say, what's a bowl? It's like a soup bowl? No, it's like this. It's a saucer, really. It's very shallow. If I would put something in this and I was tempted to and dumped it, how fast does it come out? Very fast. These bowl judgments come out like a machine gun, one right after the other. So this is what the bowls probably would look like. All right. Did you think they were soup bowls? People would when you say a bowl, but it isn't. Chapter 15. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous. 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. We're going to have 21 different plagues that are going to come to the earth. We've had 14 already. I saw there were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass. They sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Verse 4, Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. And after that I looked. Who's talking here? John, the Revelator. God's given him visions of all this. And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was open. He's looking up, and he sees a temple in heaven. And the 7 angels came out of the temple, having the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, having their breasts girded with golden girdles. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials, full of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power. And no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. Okay? This is just an introduction to what we're going to see this morning. Chapter 16. Again, we're at the end of the tribulation. The next event is what? Anybody know? Jesus is coming back. We're not going to see that till chapter 19. You might say, well, what's 17 and 18? There's going to be a respite, and we're going to fill in some blanks about what's going on in the tribulation in chapter 17 and 18. Who's coming back with Jesus? Huh? We are. Okay? Now, Revelation isn't in chronological order. You might say, well, why did we skip and go to 19? We have 17 and 18. Do you know what chronological order is? It's not the order of the way it actually happens. But 17 and 18 will help us fill in the blanks. There's going to be a battle we're going to see this morning of Armageddon. After the battle of Armageddon, we're going to have 1,000-year reign of Christ. Now, right now, if you took a poll of the people left on this earth during this time, who are they worshiping? The devil, the Antichrist. They couldn't care less about God. The gospel is being preached. People are getting saved. The nation of Israel is going to be redeemed. And there's a great revival. Keep these things in mind if you could. Now, God has demonstrated his love, his grace, and his mercy. How? How does he demonstrate his love and grace and mercy up to this point? Every opportunity. He would that none would perish. But as you saw in the video this morning, there's coming a time when he says, I'm done. He's fed up to here. Okay, let's look at this. Good, verse 2. The first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. Is it just men? It's everyone. Because women will take the mark of the beast too. So the word men there is not just men. And then they're open and running ulcerous sores from head to toe. Now, will they hurt? Yeah. Ask Job when you get to heaven how much he suffered. He had the same thing. Okay? Now, that's the first vial, the first platter. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea. It became as blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. Now, do you know what happens to your blood when you bleed out and die? It gets really black, it gets thick, and it smells. Did you know that? That's what the sea is going to be like. It's coagulated, black, and stinky. It said it became as blood of the dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. What lives in the sea? Fish. Bub, what are you going to do? You'll be fishing in heaven. You won't have to worry about it. But I know you love to fish. Now, where do fish go when they die? Fish heaven? No. They go to the surface of the water, and it stinks. Think about how much fish smells to begin with. Now, you need to understand, and I'll just throw this in because we used to own a seafood store. Don't ever eat fish that smells. Fresh fish should never, ever smell. If it does, throw it out because it's not good. And I don't care. I used to work at the Acme in North Cape May. And I would get some fish in that stunk. And I would throw it out. I wasn't going to sell that to people. The way you can tell if fish really stinks is when you cook it. You're going to get an aroma that you will never forget. So just a little tip. I don't care if they tell you it's frozen and freshly defrosted. First of all, you should never freeze fish and defrost it. Every time you freeze fish and defrost it, the bacteria goes up 1,000%. So when you go to the supermarket, make sure you have fresh fish. And if you freeze it yourself, make sure it's freshly frozen. And once it's defrosted, don't freeze it again. Okay? Just a little tip. The third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became as blood. Okay, we have nothing in the sea. Now the fresh water's been polluted by blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art and wast and shall be, because thou hast judged thus. Let me ask you a question. If somebody that didn't know the Lord was reading this, what's the first response they would have? How can a loving God do this to people? How could a loving God ever send anybody to hell? What's the answer? That's right. He gave everyone an out. He sent his only begotten Son to die on the cross so nobody would have to go to hell. And nobody would have to go through this. But you're going to see this morning, they rejected him. Now, the next one, you see how God puts in his word an explanation of why he's doing this. He's just up to here with his anger and his wrath. I heard the angel, verse 6, For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets. Thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. In other words, they deserve it. And we can all say that, don't they? They deserve it. They had their chance. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. How dangerous is the sun without the ozone layer? It'll cook you alive. Cook you alive. And men were scorched with a great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which had power over these plagues. And they repented not to give him glory. Global warming, right? Climate change. Now tell me, if you weren't saved and you saw the 14 plagues that we already had plus this, do you think you'd know where it was coming from? Mother Nature? Mother Earth? Well, who is it coming from? God. Anybody with half a brain would know that. Don't you think they would get things right? Here's their chance. All right. Now, here's the 5th vial. And the 5th angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed the God of heavens because of all their pain and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. What's it going to take, folks, for the people of this world to trust Christ? If they don't trust him now, they're never going to. They're never going to. And you're going to see this is the last time that Jesus and God say anything about repenting, because he said it's done. He's had enough. Now, did you ever bite your tongue? It hurts for days afterward, doesn't it? But these people are gnawing at their tongues. And I saw these unclean spirits. Oh, I'm sorry, verse 12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, and the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Here's what's happened. The great river Euphrates has a lot to do with the end-time prophecy. Where is the great river Euphrates located? Iraq, okay? That's where Babylon was. That's where the Garden of Eden was. And the great river Euphrates has a lot to do. It's the boundary of the nation of Israel. So here's what's happening. When the great heat hit, is it going to melt the ice caps and the mountain snow? Is it? Yep. And it's going to run down to the great river Euphrates, and it's going to rise very quickly. You know what storms do? Storms surge. So basically, the river Euphrates is much deeper than it used to be. Now, in order for the kings of the East, India, China, Japan, to get to Jerusalem, they have to have some way to walk. And if the river Euphrates is very deep, they're not going to be able to get through. So you see what God did? He dried up the river Euphrates. They have a dry riverbed to walk on. All right? And I saw 3 unclean spirits, 13, like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. Who's the dragon? Satan. Now, in these days, frogs were terrible things. They were slimy. But these aren't really frogs. These are demons coming out of the mouth of the satanic trinity. They come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. What God is doing, he's getting all the armies and all the people of the world to go to Jerusalem, to the valley of Megiddo. That's where the Armageddon is going to take place. And he's doing it using signs and tricks and wonders that these demons are portraying. And for some reason, and we don't know why, they'll be able to persuade these people to make this long trip. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's look at verse 15, 16 first. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together in a place called the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. Now you might say, this is a long walk, isn't it? It's dark. Men are being cooked alive. There's no water to drink or to heal their sores. Why are they coming? Why are they coming? Huh? They hate God. And they're coming because they're being persuaded by these demons. The seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." When God said it's done, what does it mean? It's done. What did Jesus say on the cross? It is finished. God is saying now it's done. They've had their chance. There were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. We had an earthquake not long ago. I think there was over 3,000 people killed. That has nothing compared to what this is going to be. Nothing. Okay? It's going to be a terrible... Anybody here ever been in an earthquake? Have you? What's it like, Bob?
Terrifying. I was 3 stories under the ground in Okinawa and had an earthquake.
Yeah.
I was in a communications center 3 stories underground
Huh.
and it hit. And I was scared to death.
I bet.
The lights were swinging. The equipment, we had to hold it back from falling on us.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to get out.
No. It's a terrible, terrible thing. We don't have a lot of earthquakes here. There is fault lines running under where we are, but we don't often have it. California's going to have one day, and it's going to drop right into the ocean because it's so bad. It's so bad. And this was an earthquake that no one has ever had before. The great city was divided into 3 parts. What's the great city? Jerusalem. And the cities of nations fell, the great Babylon, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Babylon is not just a city. It's a system that the Antichrist has put together. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. What is an island? It's a mountain on top of water, isn't it? All the mountains are going to be leveled, and the islands are going to be destroyed. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. That's between a 100 and 125 pound block of ice. It's going to fall on people. Every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. You want to be around for this? No, nobody would. But those that are still blaspheme God. Still blaspheme God. People that worship the earth, the ecology freaks, they're going to be destroyed. The Green New Deal won't matter that they're pushing right now. Everything is going to be destroyed. Now, next week, we're going to do chapter 17. And we're going to, like I said, step back and fill in some of the blanks of what's going on during the tribulation. Any questions? Are you understanding this? Aren't you glad we're not going to be here? I am. And hell's going to be even worse, okay? The lake of fire is going to be even worse than this that these people are going through. So be thankful that, yes.
When the plagues hit Egypt with Moses, they said even the people saved water in jars. Even those were flooded. So would that mean like water bottles and everything else would probably be flooded?
Where'd you hear that?
It was in the Bible that when Moses was, he was doing
Oh, during the plagues.
the plague of the frogs.
Yeah,
Even the jars, like the urns, were blood.
yeah.
It's not like you could save some water and
No,
even that was blood.
no. What will the water business do? Unbelievable, isn't it? All right, let's hear another song.